We're seeing the rise of artificial intelligence. We're seeing the rise of Neuralink. We're seeing the rise of UFOs. What is going on? Why is it that a flood swept the Nephilim off the earth? And why is it that in Job it highlights that dead things are formed from under the waters? Why is it that when Jesus cast the demons into swine, they went into the sea, not once, but twice? Why is it that there is a specific beast in Revelation that is supposed to come from the waters? These were questions that I started asking myself.
The world keeps lying, but he won't retreat on his quest for truth. Yeah. Truth, quest for truth. They can't stop me, they can't block me. Moving through, got that fire, they can't block me. Quest for truth, breaking chains, making waves. That's what I do. When they hate, I create.
Gillyan, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Jon. I'm so excited for our discussion today.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. This is going to be something that's really timely because a lot of this crazy stuff is going on. But before we get started, please tell people what they should know about you.
Yeah. Oh, man. Being put on the spot like this is always like, I'm going to have to work on rambling like you, like you told me. But kind of the plain and simple. I started out in politics and Jesus changed my life. I left politics at around the time that I was pregnant with my first son. And the Lord showed me that there was something more to the Bible that I didn't currently understand. And so during the 9 months that I was pregnant, I literally ate, slept, and drank the Bible. Everything, every single day was just the Bible. That was the only thing that I surrounded myself with. Like, you can ask my husband. I spent hours and hours just studying verse by verse every bit of the word. And when I was around 8 months pregnant, I found you guys on Now You See TV, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to be friends with these people. Like, I don't even like care. I just want to be their friend. And so I ended up reaching out to David, your co-host, and we are now doing like a Wednesday Bible stream every single Wednesday on just talking about the teachings of Jesus. But on the side, on my own content, I talk about basically how the occult has survived into the modern day and all of the symbols to look for, all of the things to stay away from as a Christian. And on top of that, we talk about things like the Nephilim. We talk about the things like biblical cosmology. And I hate saying flat earth. I like saying biblical earth because there are so many different theories. I think that we get wrapped up too much in, all of these crazy things that make our heads turn. I think that it's a very healthy thing to have kind of like just an idea. And if we go off of what the Bible says is the idea, then we're on the right path. Either way, the biblical earth is definitely different than what NASA tells us and what science tells us and what our schools have been indoctrinating us with since we were very little. So that's part of the thing that we're going to be talking about today. And on top of that, I love Jesus, and I don't claim to be anything but just a Bible believer, a truth seeker, and forever a student of God. I will always be learning and I will always be growing. And I hate when people like to call me things like a self-proclaimed expert. I've never said that. And I never claim to be that because it's a very dangerous line to cross where when you start pinning yourself as an expert in things, or you start saying that you're a preacher or a prophet or anything like that, and the Lord hasn't designated that on you specifically, it gets to be a dangerous thing. And so I just am really excited to just have conversations in general. And so that's why I'm so excited today to have another conversation about this incredible topic that I think really starts spinning people's heads as far as, certain things that they could be struggling with or things that they didn't realize have these marine kingdom ties to them that they can start eradicating their home with or even eradicating their media consumption with and even so understand the things that are happening in the modern day that revolve around this marine kingdom aspect.
Absolutely. And, part of the reason people maybe give you flack, and I remember back when I was younger, just anybody that's younger that's actually doing something different or even like above average for some reason, I don't understand it. It's like everybody wants to attack that. And so you probably deal with a lot of that too. That's just,
Yeah.
I don't understand it. It's weird, but it's kind of like the reality of humans. It's one of those things that people have a knee jerk reaction to everything, anything, anybody that's doing anything is an enemy. It just reminds me of in the Bible. I mean, anytime there was somebody that would rise up and do great and mighty works in God's name, the whole world was like against them, and that's just kind of the reality in what we're living in. But you said it when you talked about the Marine Kingdom. This is something that most people probably have no idea what that even means. Like I'm going back to my mind 20 years ago. If you would say Marine Kingdom, I wouldn't even know what that is. And I would think like you're talking about the people that are out there on ships that patrol the international waters. That's what I would
Yeah.
think. But when you're starting to see things like these UFOs and UAPs, and even some people supposedly having contact with entities, I really want to get your take on the Marine Kingdom, how all this is, and even anything up to date current that you can tell me about, because I know you have your ear to the ground on Instagram, on TikTok. I see you popping out videos all the time that are they're awesome. I mean, little snippets of things that like you don't normally hear about, and it just makes me want to research more. So I'm excited to have you about this topic.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, of course. So I think the question is like when you confront the Marine Kingdom, like you said, like the first time that I ever heard the concept of the Marine Kingdom, I'm like, are you talking about like sharks and whales and like seaweed? Like, are you talking about like actually like marine life?
Yeah.
What is this? But then as I was praying and asking the Lord, like, is the Marine Kingdom in the Bible? Is the Marine Kingdom like a prominent principality I should be concerned about as a Christian? These are the things that I would journal about. Like I literally like I am constantly journaling. I'm constantly asking the Lord in my journal to reveal things to me, and I usually have like a pattern where I'll journal and I'll just write out everything that I want to say to the Lord in that moment, praise him, ask him to help me, and just count my blessings as well. And then after, I will go straight into the word after just taking that specific intentional time to really write to the Father, because I think there's importance to that. Because the entire Bible is literally written testimony of every single prophet, every single apostle, the disciples, you name it. Like they are literally writing to the Father. And that is a huge power. And I found that during my time researching the Marine Kingdom, it was almost like my experience became heightened. I was seeing things that I didn't see before. And I think that it is something that is so incredibly important to do. So, as I was researching, there was a lot of questions that started coming to mind in my journals. Number one, why is it that a flood swept the Nephilim off the earth? And why is it that in Job it highlights that dead things are formed from under the waters? Why is it that when Jesus cast the demons into swine, they went into the sea, not once, but twice? Why is it that there is a specific beast in Revelation that is supposed to come from the waters? These were questions that I started asking myself, and I started really just I started wanting to study it more. And on top of that, in society today, I mean, you go to Starbucks, what's on your Starbucks cup? It's a siren. Why is it that most of the childhood media that children consume have to do with things like mermaids, have to do with things like sea monsters, or just oceanic themes in general? There are like, I can just literally think of like about 20 different movies that are very popular off the top of my head that have to do with the Marine Kingdom. And on top of that, what is it with mermaids? Why is it that they are programmed into little girls from such a young age? Little girls want to play mermaids. That's what the little girls want to play. And the boys, they want to play with dinosaurs, or they want to like pretend that they are like these sea monsters that like they like jump and they go crazy in the pool during playtime. And on top of that, why is it that little girls are so sexualized from a very young age? And on top of that, why are these mermaid figures, why are they dressed so scandalously if they're for children? What is with that?
This cream actually penetrates all 7 layers of your skin to eliminate pain. I put this on my carpal tunnel wrist the other day. I was out jet skiing with friends. I was gripping on the whole time. My wife was driving, so I'm gripping, trying not to fall down, and I'm also gripping the gas when I drove. And my wrist hurt so bad that I couldn't sleep. And I grabbed this, and I was like, this is probably not going to work. I just didn't understand really that it would, but I put it on my wrist, and the pain was gone within 5 minutes. And to me, that's worth so much, because I could have laid there hours in pain and even woken up the next day in pain without using this. And I've seen people that suffer from chronic pain in their joints in different places, and they've used this and it literally works for them. Some people just can't believe how good it is. So make sure you guys check it out. Use the code Pounders for $8 off this product and see if you like it. Let me know.
And so as I was studying the Marine Kingdom, I kind of came across very similar things to the days of Noah. The Marine Kingdom has the same character aspects of the lawlessness that happened before the flood, the sexual perversion, the cannibalism, the vampirism, the lawlessness, the overall just the spirit of murder, the spirit of complete torment. Why is it that on top of that, our society also shows the same exact characteristics of the Marine Kingdom and pre-flood days?
Mhm.
So that is kind of where I started my journey. And on top of that, we're seeing a lot of, in the modern day, specifically the past few days to a few months, there have been many news headlines talking about the coming of aliens, the return of them, if they're real or not. And on top of that, glowing underwater UFOs being filmed off of the coast of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Like, these are certain things that have started really twisting my gears. On top of that, we have this entrance of the age of Aquarius, this entrance of the golden age, the whole entire like aspect of gold becoming a prime like focus in our economy as far as government efforts to switch pretty much our currency to gold currency. And you're seeing a lot of Atlantean themes that are very strange. So these are just some of the things, and we can, John, you can ask me about like specific things, and we could absolutely dive into those. But those are just some of the things that really started making me scratch my head when I was kind of digging into this initially.
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely want to get into some of the modern stuff, but I do remember, in a lot of research, and almost because I try to research every ancient civilization and how they started, what their origin story is, I guess, if you will. And almost every single one of them have a story of some kind of being coming out of the water and forming their civilization, teaching them things and teaching them how to mine, teaching them how to do geometry, all the different stuff that they need to build a civilization. These creatures, prop up, like Dagon in the Bible. Awanas is one of the original names of that creature, and these people worship these things. And so it makes a lot of sense that we're starting to see more of the Atlantean things rising up. To me, it makes sense. But what about that kind of stuff? I mean, we see we see a lot of these symbols that are rising up with these UFOs, and my question to you is like, do you notice, do you recognize these symbols? Do you recognize all this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when it comes to the things that we're seeing in the sky. Just a few months ago, I believe that it was in South America that there was a spiral shape figure. Uh, it was like it was almost I will send you the picture, but
Yeah.
it was a spiral in the sky. And it was, you can see it through different civilizations. They always have these ringed spirals that look like Plato's description of Atlantis.
Hmm.
And you can see it there. There are ring forts in England. There are ring forts. I mean, where are there not ring forts all over the world, not just in England, where the Celts were very predominantly Marine Kingdom worshiping as well. But on top of that, the holidays as well, specifically Halloween we're approaching is literally an homage to the ancestors that were swept out in the flood. There are specific marine stories that are associated, especially in the Celtic mythology, that not only revolve around the Marine Kingdom, but they literally built burial mounds that had solar, like basically they would be able to cut out holes in the stone, and the stone would be able to basically show off the reflection on the day of Halloween to kind of revolve around a ritual that they would perform every year. So, and on top of that, um, it's always like one of two things for me that is very interesting, because when you look at the Bible, there are two ways to get to Sheol. One, the earth, and number two, the water. And it's very interesting that these burial mounds are said to go into the other world, and that these caves that they venerate all of their ancestral spirits, they're supposed to come out of these caves, specifically like the Fomorians in Celtic mythology, that literally were said to have come from the sea, and the people of that time were so frightened by them that they had to literally give these Fomorian creatures two-thirds of their children, of their crops, and I believe of all of their food supply, two-thirds of it to these
Hmm.
Fomorians, so that they could literally get fed off of this. They demanded so much. So these beings were absolutely monstrous. And on top of that, even the Catholic Church had many different customs that revolved around these Kingdom elements on Halloween. These sailors would go out on Halloween, they would dump ale into the water, and they would call out to this water spirit called Shoni, and they would ask this Shoni to give them a good catch for the coming year. There are many, many things that we see throughout church history, specifically Catholic history. And they always say research church history until you actually do research church history. And then they kind of have a boot in their butt at the end of it. And they're just like, maybe we shouldn't have told her to do that. And maybe that's just my journalistic I guess, tendency to really look into things and to really take time to study if I want to be well versed in an area.
Hmm.
But like this is their church history, and it survived up until I believe the 19th century, and then they changed it to the springtime in Beltane. So it's very, very interesting to me to see those specific Catholic Church connections. You see the Celtic connections, and then on top of that, you can see the Mesopotamian connections to Dagon, and you can see essentially like a few different spirits, and I would say Nephilim entities as well that were worshipped as gods, such as Lilith, that also have these Marine Kingdom ties. Lilith, a lot of people don't know this, was a siren. The way that she is depicted is exactly how the Greek sirens were portrayed. A basically a bird woman. And she is the Lilith in Isaiah 34:14 is called a screech owl. You get the name Lilith from the Hebrew root word that you go to search up. And so this bird woman, okay, it is then called Lilith and is tied to a very strange creation story that is brought through Judaism, Judaistic mysteries, and then applied even in the Bible as this terror, like this night demon. And so then you have, Apollyon, who is, or Abaddon, who is the ruler of the pit, the ruler over Sheol. And so you have a lot of these themes that come in through the Bible that also are entering into pop culture today. A lot of people name their pets Apollo. A lot of people really like to venerate Apollo in today's culture. If you go to Italy, I can't even tell you how many Apollo figures that there are. That are just built into all of the architecture there. And then on top of that, you have, figures like the Leviathan. You have figures like Legion. There are just so many examples of the Marine Kingdom in the Bible. And on top of that, you have all of the societal references through the media, through holidays, through literally going to get coffee, like simplest things that have these marine spirits attached to them.
Absolutely. It's so wild to me too, because like I remember when I studied Genesis, there's always been something about the water, really the earth too, but it talks about the water. Let the waters bring forth the sea animals and the birds, and then like you said in Job, where it talks about dead things forming in the water, and that word for dead things, the Hebrew is Rephaim, and so there's definitely something there. And every major religion in the world that's ancient talks about a primordial waters that have creative force. It's really interesting. But coming forward now to where we're at now, we're starting to see this I3 or 3i Atlas that's supposedly, making its way. Today's supposed to be actually
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the closest it's going to make it to us right now. At least that's what they're saying. It changes every day. And you were talking earlier, there's some things that you wanted to talk about, like current events and people that have been talking about this stuff. So let us know what's going on with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. Like, and I think that the craze of Charlie Kirk's assassination didn't really allow for a lot of this exposure to come out. But as you know, and I know, and everyone knows, they're always going to try to cover up what's going on behind. Now, am I saying that Charlie Kirk's assassination was a cover up? No, I knew the guy. So I'm not I'm not gonna go down any of those. There's just a lot of theories. I'll just
There's
put
so
it on
much,
that.
too much going on right now with
There's
it, and
too
I'm scared to
exactly.
talk about it because like I don't, you don't know, you have no idea what the
Yeah.
reality of those things are. But anyways,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, absolutely. So, what I am saying though is that I do believe that this conspiracy craze around Charlie Kirk's assassination is creating a psyop in itself because basically, and it is so crazy to me. I just want to talk about this really quickly. How conspiracies and people not wanting to believe in psyops, they're literally creating their own psyop. It's literally questioning everything to the point of believing absolutely nothing. This is literally what Satan is trying to get us to do, is to question everything to the point where we question our own faith. We question our own walk. And people don't seem to grasp this concept. And so for like you and me, John, and David, and all of everyone who's in this ministry, we have our heads that we have our heads set on straight with the Holy Spirit. And so we are able to see things from a fair and outside perspective almost, because we don't vote, we don't get involved in the political realm, but we're able to have a very fair mindset as far as what's going on and how to see it from a biblical lens. And people who are very much not rooted in that same exact concept, are going to call you a bigot. They're going to say that you know nothing, that you don't understand anything that goes on in this world, and you can't be trusted. That, and then that we are the psyops, that we are the ones who are to be attacked, because how dare we have a fair perspective? How dare we have a balanced view on what is going on in this world? And there's just a peace that comes with Christ. And when we are focusing on conspiracy theories and not focusing on what the Bible is saying, we're going to become mentally stirred. We're not going to be at peace. We're going to be at constant war. We're going to be at constant fear. We're going to be so anxious. And so, with this specific topic, where I found the middle was, okay, so these people are saying that these beings are coming from space. Okay. They're saying that these things are also coming from under the water. So I know two things. Okay. Immediately. Okay. NASA, number one, means to deceive. Okay. So they have been deceiving the masses from day one. And we also, well, not we, I would say I also know, and I'm sure Jon knows this too, but this whole UFO spacecraft thing is complete fake. Now, am I saying it's Project Bluebeam? No, I actually don't think that Project Bluebeam is actually necessary because of the alien tech that we've had for thousands of years to make anything possible. But the reason why I think this is because Nikola Tesla in the 1800s was able to create a patent for the United States Navy. This is true. You can look this up. And it's called the flying hovercraft. Looks exactly like your stereotypical UFO today. Do I believe that UFOs are aliens? No, I actually, like, this is crazy, but I think that they might be like government members that are literally told to just go out. Like, they have a designated day. Okay, we want this amount of sightings today. We want people to take videos of it. So we're going to go into a location that might be secluded, but definitely has access to cell phones. They're able to track that as well. And so they just fly through the air. So I am gathering to this 31 Atlas or these UFO phenomenons. There's a UFO that's supposed to come to Earth this November that was tracked in July, caught by Harvard scientists. All of these things. I don't think that these are alien creations. I think that this is just a craft made by man. And I mean, if you want to contest that, I mean, how much of our taxpayer dollars are like going to places that we literally have no idea where they're going? Like, we literally, it's like a mystery fund. And this Doge exposure was just a little bit of that, but they didn't even break the tip of the iceberg of where our money is actually going to be funded towards. So just think about that for a minute. So I have an open mind towards that. And I don't think that it's very hard to, if they can create spaceships that are supposed to go to space, but they're just like being reused. Like, I think that they could make a hovercraft UFO really easily. So there's that UFO in the sky thing. So the UFOs in the ocean. Now, I have a lot of questions for that, because we know that in the last days, that not only will there be a beast that rises up out of the water, whether you want to believe that that's symbolic, physical, whatever, I really don't care at this very point in time, because I mean, I have a lot of theories, but there's a lot of,
it's like arguing over how long a shadow is or something. It's just like who knows,
Exactly. So like there's that thing right there. But I also know that Jesus literally says that this earth will be like the days of Noah. And if dead things, the Rephaim, are formed from under the waters, and they are supposed to make this return as in the days of Noah, doesn't it make complete sense that these beings would also rise from the water again? Especially because every single country in the entire world is locked in place by water. It would make a lot of sense that these creatures, these Nephilim, will be able to come from the water. So with
Just real quick, it reminds
yeah,
me, you
no,
said something earlier about these Fomorians that wanted to get two-thirds of the children, etc. And man, it
yeah,
would make sense that if these entities are back and they all have become known to people like Musk, the technocrats
yeah,
and people like that, it would make sense because we have so much rise in technology.
yeah.
But it would also make sense why there's hundreds of thousands, millions of children that are
Going
missing,
missing.
going missing. So like this could be part of the deal. It could be whatever. And I'll tell you a story real quick that really confirms what you're talking about the underwater crafts. But I went to a fellowship. It was around 2019. It could have been 2018. It was pre 2020. And there was a guy, a kind of mysterious guy. He was a polyglot, spoke a lot of languages. And he came to me and to my friend Jake. Jake was working for me at the time, Jake Grant. And he proceeds to tell us, like, hey, I used to work in a unit in the military. And he gave us this challenge coin and wanted to see if we could figure out what the challenge coin was. Well, it was an underwater surveillance unit in the Navy. And so he proceeded to tell us that he said he can't tell us everything. He just says that there are things in the water that nobody knows about except for us. And when I say that, obviously there's other people in his chain of command, but he inferred, he's like, the things you guys are talking about, he's like, you're right, and so that's what he said. He's all he could say. But this was really interesting to me, and this was like
Wow.
2018. And so when we're talking about the things that are coming up right now, like it's no surprise to me, but it's also like crazy to think that we've been deceived to thinking that these things may be coming from space, right? And of course, none of us know for sure because we know that crafts that like what Tesla created could have easily been technology that the angelic beings that were fallen
Yeah,
passed to
absolutely.
him, so there's so many weird things with all that. But you're right. I mean, it seems like the government is co-opted with it, and it just makes me wonder what the deal is. What's their deal? What are they getting out of this? What are the other people getting out of this? And it just seems to go hand in hand with all the missing people and everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up too. And on top of that, I did want to bring up something that happened a few months ago. Or I think my perception of time is off being pregnant, but might have even been last year where we talked about these mermaid eating parties. Yeah.
Yes.
It was that
Yeah.
around last year.
I think
Um
so. Something like that. Yeah.
yeah, so like over the course of like the past four years, specifically the last 2 years, has been like a mind game. It's like what is going on? Like
Yeah.
why now? Why
Yeah.
now? And for me, I'm like, I need I am like the queen of living in comfort in suburbia, and now I am looking into land in the Smoky Mountains, and I'm like, what? I don't know if I was placed in the wilderness. Yeah, I have some tools, but like, would I'd be afraid for my life.
Your
And
husband will have to turn into Tarzan, man,
I I
swing you.
know. I know. Exactly. And so I'm over here with the like, okay, Lord, like, I'm not ready and I need to be ready. Over the past 2 years, like I've had like this emphasis on getting more prepared for sure. And so there's a lot of books that I have, a lot of like guides, a lot of just safety things that I have just compiled for like, hey, if we need to go, we need to go. And living in Florida too, a coastal state, and Fort Lauderdale is around an hour and 30 minutes from me. Do I want to be an hour and 30 minutes away from where Nephilim UFOs were spotted? No, thanks.
Fort Lauderdale, the crime's gone way up in Fort Lauderdale too, from what I hear. It's like one of the most
Yes.
dangerous cities in Florida, I believe.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And luckily where I live, it's actually in like the top five safest cities to live in Florida. So like even though I live in a very safe location, I'm
Yeah.
still like, I want out of here.
Yeah. Away
I
from the
don't want to
water.
have exactly. So well, that's a different topic, but these mermaid eating parties were taking place last year. So kind of the story behind this was this kid, he was maybe I guess my age, I guess you could say. he was on this very large boat made, like, if you've seen Deadliest Catch, I'm talking like those type of boats, like made for like super crazy water fishing.
Yeah, like Drake's
And
Passage type stuff, like crazy
right,
waves. Yeah.
right. Yes. So this kid, what he had out his phone, he was filming like the water. He was like, whoa, this is crazy. And then at the corner of his eye, he starts seeing something trailing the boat, but not just one thing. There were multiple trails that were following the boat. It was like these fins were coming out, but not shark fins. It was like they were able to analyze every single movement of the boat and like intelligently adjust to following this boat path. He starts filming them and he starts hearing these creatures start saying, jump in or come to me or like fall in or something like that, take a dive. And it's like this really like I something out of a movie. I'm like watching this video, like, what? What is going on here? Literally less than a month later, there was a video made by this woman, and I'm forgetting her handle at the top of my head right now, but she received this email from a man that was invited to an elitist dinner party. This guy goes in, he has to sign this NDA, very tight NDA. He walks in and he's seated in a group of like maybe 10 people. And these 10 people were very famous. And they don't go into details with the names or anything like that. All he knows is that he was invited to this thing by a friend. They go in, they sit down, and a chef comes out and says, we have a delicacy being served to you from the Atlantic. And this
Wow.
guy brings out this plate, and it was like silver platter, like with like the fancy lid and all. It was like 5 feet long. They set it in front of the table, they open it, and it's literally a mermaid laying on this plate. And these people start they fillet this mermaid, allegedly, and they start like gobbling it down, like animalistically gobbling it down. So this guy like is like, what the heck? And so he goes to take a bite and he recalls that he received the mysteries from the ocean from one bite alone, and that it was a state of euphoria that is similar to the state of euphoria that you get from a certain chemical that is also extracted from children. And I will not go into depth for purposes of getting this taken down. But it was a very interesting thing. So we went on a midnight ride. We talked about it. And so then you have after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, you have Tim Burchett, who's talking about the government currently knowing about six. And I love the number six. I love how they always have to include their symbolism in it. 6 current underwater UFOs that the United States government is currently aware of. Less than a month later, you have on the 27th of October, 6 different orbs of light that were caught in the water off the coast of Fort Lauderdale. This is crazy to me. And then on top of that, with the 31 Atlas, we had the Economic Times talk about how within the next few days, we will know if aliens are real. And the date that they named was October 30th, same day that 31 Atlas is supposed to come into orbit with the sun or come into contact with the sun in our solar system or something like that. It is absolutely asinine to me. And I'm just in a state of what the heck is going on. You're seeing as well the rise of this AI technology. I just made a video yesterday on these AI house bots, literally made housemaids, like from the Jetsons. coming to clean your house. We're seeing the rise of artificial intelligence. We're seeing the rise of Neuralink. We're seeing the rise of UFOs. What is going on? And why is no one talking about it? And why is it that the biggest names, Harvard, NASA, the Economic Times, Congress, and the Senate, why are they talking about UFOs if something wasn't going to happen? And they always have to tell us what's going on before they do it. So the question is, like, as Christians, what should we be doing about it? And that is something that really should be the center of everyone's thought is, okay, Lord, here I am, send me. What do I do? This is the time where we have to be prepared. And so what I would say is you need to know your enemy. You need to know who you're up against when you're up against the Marine Kingdom. You need to understand that not only are these spirits and creatures, entities powerful, but you're also probably related to them in a way genetically. Everyone currently in the world has a remnant percentage of Nephilim DNA. For me, I am literally 100% Gaulish Celtic. Like, that is all of my genetics. So I have ancestors that not only worshiped these things, sacrificed to these things, but also were said to have come from these things. So in your own genetic path, I am, coming into contact with like needing to repent for certain things that I don't know like are in my bloodline that I didn't realize were sinful nature in my life. And I wondered why I had struggled so much with witchcraft my whole life. I had struggled so much with New Age practices before Jesus my whole life. I had struggled with this inner chaos, self-destructive behavior. And after Jesus and after kind of going through this whole, I guess, repentance process and also deliverance, a spiritual divorce and a spiritual emancipation from my genetics to be born again, these are the things that we are going to need to do because of the fact that these spirits are going to prey on you. They're going to prey on your children, and they are going to try to attack you, not only spiritually now, but also we're having to compartmentalize the idea that these things will be physically attacking us as well.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's important that we definitely seek the Holy Spirit on a lot of this because I would say culturally we're being made to think of these whatever's coming as evil, which gives me pause and makes me wonder, like, what are we getting ready to experience? Like, what is going to happen? Maybe we're supposed to think it's evil. There's all of these things because the Bible talks about a great deception coming, that even the elect could be deceived if it were possible. And I think that it will be possible for some to be deceived because, as you said, they're not really thinking about these things at all. And this is going to hit them from left field. The idea of like a life outside of what we live here. Some Christians are so disconnected from the supernatural and the paranormal that they will have no idea what's going on. I mean, it's been, if you think about westernized Christianity and even really Christianity worldwide in most areas, you have this materialistic ideology, and the supernatural, the paranormal isn't really a part of any talks, much less everyday talks or even like every week talks. There's nothing that talks about that. And that concerns me a little bit for a lot of people. And even for myself, we don't know, like, this deception is going to be so great. We're going to have to really rely on the Holy Spirit to like let us know what's going on, because I don't think that the narrative that they're giving us is a legitimate narrative, but I think that there is something to it that we're going to see, and they're wanting us to believe a certain thing about it. I mean, I have no idea what to think about any of this stuff until it happens. It's one of those things that I do believe in the scriptures that talks about, the return of the fallen ones the being unleashed and the abyss being opened up. And so there's that, but there's also the return of Christ as well that we may experience as well. And I think the whole world's going to go to war with that return. So there's going to be a lot that happens over if this is all real and this is not just a bunch of idiots making stuff up, then we're going to see some things that are going to be shocking and mind blowing.
No, I 100% agree. And what was coming to mind as you were saying that is I feel as though as well that a lot of like the westernized part where we're always set on certain plans of future events that seem completely logical, like natural disasters. Everyone has a plan for if a fire is going to like, burn down their house, what they're going to do. Everyone has a plan for if you live near a volcano, La Hardro prep, all this stuff. I grew up with that my whole life. Like, what are we going to do? If you live near, like say you're in Hawaii, everyone has a tsunami plan.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we not have a spiritual plan as to what to do if something were to go down? Not just to prep for bugging out, but also to prep spiritually. And I think I'm kind of a learn from environmental surroundings type of person. I look at, and it's not from a legalistic perspective, but I have pity for people who, are self-destructive, who, are not prepared, who don't read their Bible. I look at that. I'm like, Lord, do not let me become this way. I want to be 100% prepared in you no matter what happens. And like every single day is led by that thought of, I don't want to be like the people before me. I don't want to be the sins of my fathers. I want to be 100% renewed. I want to be prepared. And on top of that, if there is something that you are telling me, I don't want to miss that. I don't want to miss that cue. And so there are a lot of things that we should be doing spiritually. Now, as far as physical prep, I couldn't, everybody lives in a different region. I live in Florida, so I have quite a trek up to the Smoky Mountains if I'm needing to go somewhere. But
And
like
there's only like one high or interstate maybe, right? Or is there two interstates that
there's
leave Florida?
there's two. There's
Yeah.
two. So like I just asked the Lord, like, please give me a week. If there is something that is going to go down, give it to me 7 days before it happens so that we can just go. Because of that reason, there are not very many outs of Florida. And so for that reason, I've just asked the Lord, hey, I have all of the equipment now that I need. Let me know 7 days before it happens. And I believe that he will do that because he's showed up for me in so many ways like that before. And so I have no doubts that he will do that with us. Because I think a lot of people, they're so afraid for the end times because they're almost under this impression that we are going to be left like sheep to the slaughter. That's not true, because the Lord says that even Mary, in the lineage of Mary, and this comes into Israel, the Lord sent Mary into the wilderness for a time, the woman, into the wilderness for a time away from Satan to protect her. And so I believe there's a lot of things, but there's like the Satan's little season theory. But I think that during that short time that is mentioned with, the preservation of Israel, that's also going to be when Satan's little season hits. I don't think that we are going to be left like sheep to the slaughter. I don't believe that, because that is not the consistency of God. That's not the character of God to do that. We're not just going to be like, okay, fend for yourself time. It's every man for himself. Enjoy. No, the Lord doesn't operate like that. Neither did Jesus. He came after that one when the 99 were all safe. He's not going to leave us behind. And I think that we need to get out of that ideology right away. But on top of that, the Lord's going to do his part. We need to do our part. And so we need to get prepared in that aspect of, okay, well, we at least need a place to go. We at least need, enough food for us in that time, and the right equipment for us to be able to fend for ourselves if necessary during that time to get to that specific location. But I believe that the Lord will sustain us. I believe that the Lord will take care of us. And I think that when we are smart and we rely specifically on Him, how many times in the Bible has God required that of every single figure in the Bible to just lean on Him? And how many times did the Lord forsake them? Never, never. And so that's what I think as far as this goes. I currently am not worried about this. I do think it's like absolutely crazy what's going on, because as a human, as well as a human in the modern day that didn't see, the flood happening, I didn't see Moses or God parting the waters for Moses. I didn't see the giant fire tornado. I didn't see the walls of Jericho crumbling down, and I sure didn't see David defeating Goliath. We know that those are true, but we haven't seen them. So as a very modernized human, having to mentally think about that potentially becoming the norm is like a type of reality check that I was not prepared for. But I do know that no matter what, at the very least, the Lord will sustain us, and that the Lord will protect us if we lean on Him. And so that's kind of just what I think about all of the fear surrounding that, all of the, tribulation stuff surrounding that, because I know that with this rising of the Marine Kingdom, there's a lot of revelation prophecy, 70 weeks of Daniel, that is also playing into this, that is very necessary for us at the very least to start really looking into seriously, and to applying it to our lives in the way that the Lord would have every individual, no matter where you live, do.
Yeah, there's a couple dreams that I've had over life that I believe God gave to me. I'm not going to say that definitively, but one that really stands out with what we're talking about here is, in this dream, I was literally in a city when crazy stuff was going down, and I remember having complete peace through it. There was a point in the dream where I went outside. I was in this dilapidated building. There was a bunch of people in there hiding from all of the things that were going on. I mean, we're talking chaos, and there was even dragons flying through the air. And I remember going out and sitting on this little grassy knoll area. And as I see this giant dragon come right by and turn its head to look at me, and then it just keeps going right past. And, a situation, in one of the situations in the dream, there was bugs everywhere that were biting and killing people. And I'm not in a safe place by any means, but I'm walking around and the bugs are avoiding me. And that just, to me, it gave me peace, knowing that like none of these things frighten me really, because ultimately we're going to die anyway. So like to be able to say, well, I want to physically preserve my life. The Bible says that those that want to save their lives will lose it. And those that the opposite for those who aren't looking to save their life. And so like, we have to think like that too. Like we can't be afraid, because greater is He who's in us than he who's in the world. And like you said, I do believe God will sustain us, give us everything we need to make it through. And maybe not physically, but spiritually is the ultimate plan anyway, because we have to be born again. We have to be born of spirit, and we have to be able to, be a quickening spirit to live forever, right? This is part of the plan. So like, now's the greatest time, I feel like, to be able to step into that light and do that, because a lot of people, it's going to be too late. Going back to this one dream that reminds me of this, I was sitting by my bed. This was before I was a believer, this dream, and it shook me to my core. I couldn't stop thinking about it until God rescued me from my life. I couldn't stop thinking about it, but I remember, hearing explosions, looking out the window, and there's just explosions going on in the sky. And like this looked like the sky is like rolling up. It's just completely. And I remember thinking in my head, because I grew up in Christian school and church my whole life, I was like, this is the book of Revelation. Like, I've got to get my Bible. I don't know what to do. And I went to grab my Bible off the desk. And as soon as I grabbed it, like I hit the floor, my gut pain and everything, just like I couldn't even touch it. And I heard a voice say, it's too late. And man, that struck me so hard. And I think it was God waking me up that like, if you don't start understanding, if you don't start leaning on me right now, this is going to happen to you. It's going to be too late. And I knew that that's what the dream meant. And I still know that's what the dream meant. And man, you know, these things, I hope that, and maybe these aren't dreams from God, but if it is, if it's something that anybody can connect with listening or whatever, I really hope it helps. But I mean, you're right. Gillyan, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience before you leave? How can they find you on Instagram? How can they find you on Facebook, etc.? I think you're on TikTok, Instagram, and I think you're on Facebook as well. But let them know how they can get in contact with you if they need to.
Yeah, of course. First of all, thanks so much for having me on. It's a great discussion. I think that at the very least, I just hope that it allows you to think about what's going on. At the very least, you don't have to take away anything that you don't want to from this video. You don't have to agree with me or listen to me. That's your choice. But I think that this is very important at the very least to think about. And, you know, also at the very least to kind of have an inward thought of, you know, Lord, where can I do better? Where can I trust in you more? And how can I understand the signs of the times with a lens of your peace and your wisdom? And so that's just all that I hope comes from this specific discussion today. And as far as where you can find me, I'm on like every single platform. I have like a page that my husband set up for me on Facebook, but I don't like check it ever. So
Facebook's getting
so
kind of
sorry.
lame lately, I think.
Yeah,
It's
I
interesting.
I have never been a Facebook person, unfortunately. There's a lot of people on Facebook, and so I just like it's just never been my thing. It's just a little bit too difficult for me to understand. But I am on Instagram at Gillyan Stone. My YouTube is Gillyan Stone. My TikTok is Gillyan Stone. My X profile is Gillyan Stone. So whether or not you can find my handle, it's always just by my name. You could just search it and I'm there. So but yeah, that's as far as where you can find me. I have, you know, a few different books that I have been putting out. One has been a biblically clean biblical wellness guide. And another one I put out for one of the biblical feasts so far, but I'm planning on more as I get the time to like
Are
sit
those
down
on
and write.
Amazon or how working?
Those are on my Etsy shop, but they're also on my website that you could just click on at the alabasterpodcast.com. There's a lot of new videos that I've been working on. I'm usually confined by time a lot of the months that come based off of my husband's work and then just having a little kiddo and another kiddo on the way. But you can find me on all those platforms. I'm pushing out a lot of content before I get ready to have this next little guy, so that you guys will definitely have a lot to study, think upon all of this stuff. But yeah, that's where you can find me. And yeah, thanks so much, Jon.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And I'm going to put the links in the description for Gillyan, whichever link she sends me, so you can check out her stuff. Thank you guys for listening. Pound the like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
The world keeps lying, but he won't retreat on his quest for truth. Yeah. Truth, quest for truth. They can't stop me, they can't block me. Moving through, got that fire.